Hello and welcome. This is Chris Wren, and I'm going to be showing you a couple new AR prototypes today. Both of these are based on a construction yard, and they're just kind of two different versions of the same prototype. One's using Qualcomm's Vuforia, the other one's using Metaio. So the first one we're going to look at is the older of the two, which is one I made about almost a year ago. And it's a construction site. And so we're going to look at it on my Samsung Galaxy S3. And as you can see, it's just got pure pass-through. You don't see anything until you get an image target involved. In which case, so I'll bring the phone right up to the camera here so you can kind of see what my phone sees. All right, so when it recognizes the image target, it brings up this small construction yard. And it's really stable on Vuforia. I can get right up almost on these objects and not really see like any degradation. It's not popping. It's just very, very stable. Just to show you a couple of the features of this, I put in some basic terrain. So if you push the terrain button, it will turn the terrain on and off. It's a toggle. And then you can see it actually handles, this is actually Unity's built-in terrain engine, and it's actually really expensive on the processing side, but it handles it really well. It's a smaller terrain, obviously, as you can see, so it's, but it's still pretty detailed with a lot of texture, and it's handling it pretty well. Anyway, so what's happening is this dump truck is actually driving around picking up resources. The resources get spawned over here by this crystal thing, and it's all just kind of like placeholder proof of concept stuff. But the idea is that you can kind of do an RTS type game with this kind of mechanic, where you could do like a playset whereby you could put in different trucks and have like different behaviors, etc. And so what I'm going to look at real quick with this, just to kind of showcase it, we did the terrain. I've also put in a camera so that you can actually see what the truck sees. So there's the 3D, the bigger picture is actually showing off like the whole target and the whole construction yard area that you can move around by moving the target. But you'll notice that the camera down below does not change based on that, but instead the camera below is using, that's a first person of the truck. So you're inside the cab of the truck driving around. And you got kind of a little HUD, and you can see what the truck sees, and you can also see what the targets and other things are. So he's got his own like readout in terms of like what his target is, etc. And I've got a third button down here called drive, and so this stops the truck in its tracks, and it gives you some controls so you can actually get in there and, if you want to, drive the truck around yourself. And you can go pick up your own resources. And if you get sick of that, you can just hit the drive button again, and he'll continue back on his AR path. All right, so that's the old school version of it. I've got a newer one we're going to look at just briefly that I started working on. I upscaled it all to C#. It was all JavaScript before. And I moved it from Vuforia over to Metaio. And so what I've seen so far in terms of results, it looks really cool. I've got it running pretty fast. The problem is recognition hasn't been great. So we're going to do our best here to try to get this thing to recognize. And again, I think recognition is my problem. I think recognition has been something I've been having issues with, understanding the parameters that Metaio uses to actually do good recognition. So I've got 3 versions of it, which is nice. I think the most stable that we can play around with is the 2D track, so I'm just going to click that. Hopefully that'll generate, let's see, hopefully that'll generate a construction site. There we go. And so we've got basically the same thing going on here. I've got my truck cam just like I had before. We've got terrain just like I had before. I kind of optimized this a little bit so it's cheaper terrain. Now it's just a cube. But essentially the same things are going on. So I've got my truck cam. If I want to, I can hit drive and actually drive my truck around. And you get the idea. All right, so there's 2 versions of it. And again, with this one, the nice thing about this version is it uses multiple tracking types. So that if you don't have an image target, like over here, this image target that I'll supply on my website, you can use the secondary version of it, either 2D or 3D tracking to generate the scene. Anyway, that's it. Enjoy.